Welcome back to another season of X's and Omar. I am Omar Kelly, Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist, and this is Dave Hyde, Sun Sentinel sports columnist. And we've waited a long 6 months, but your true love has returned. Me, of course. No, I'm talking about football season. It's Dolphin season. Football is back. X's and Omar's is back. And this is your training camp primer special. Training camp kicks off at 9 o'clock on Thursday.
You ready, Omar? You ready?
Not really, but I'll get there.
We will be.
I'll get there. I'll progressively get there.
It used to be a big moment because there were, in old days, before OTAs and mini. Now it's just a progression of the offseason, right?
Definitely. And then you had the 5-week break, which I enjoyed my 5-week break, was living life. And now we're back to football. And we'll be doing football till January, first week of January, of course, because the Dolphins, with this team, probably not going to really be talking about the playoffs. But we've missed you. Plenty has changed since we last saw this team quit on Adam Gase and the coaching staff in that Buffalo game.
Or did he quit on the players? It was hard. It was a mess by then. Right?
Everybody quit on themselves.
We don't need to go back and
we got to rehash this, Dave.
Okay, all right.
Mike Tannenbaum is gone. He got let go. Adam Gase is gone. He was also let go. Well, actually chose to leave, even though he got his pay.
He reinvented himself real quick, though.
Reinvented himself. He's up there with the New York Jets.
Savior.
Sam Bradford might think he's the savior. We'll see how that lasts. But Chris Grier is the man in charge. He's been part of the Dolphins organization since 2000, and now, finally, he's been through how many executives as his bosses? Probably about 6.
About 6 regimes.
6 regimes. He is the man in charge. He hired Brian Flores, former Patriots assistant, to become the Dolphins head coach. Ryan Tannehill is gone, Dave. Ryan Tannehill.
Shocking.
The end of an era. The Tannehill is gone, replaced by Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen, who will be competing, if you can call that a competition, for the franchise's placeholder of the starting quarterback. Dave, do you see these changes making a difference in Dolphins land?
Come back in 2020, because all these changes, they pushed all the big changes to next offseason. They got $100 million in salary. They got draft picks lined up. So you can't say, oh, I like these changes now.
12 draft picks.
Until you see what they do with them next year. It's great, and I understand it, what they're doing. But personally, look, I was for Russell Wilson drafting him. I was for taking Lamar Jackson. I would be the Baltimore Ravens right now. Where you don't tear it all the way down and have to trust the tank, because that's what they're doing. And I would have tried to win while you're rebuilding.
That's a pretty good slogan, Dave. Trust the tank.
I'm using that. I'm using that in a column coming out today. Trust the tank. Not tank for Tua, because you got to keep an open mind on these things, Omar.
It's true.
A lot's going to change. Who knew Kyler Murray was the #1 draft pick a year ago?
Nobody did.
Who knew Baker Mayfield 2 years ago?
Nobody did. Hey, there's a kid Love in Utah State. Looks pretty damn good to me. Question number 1 comes from Leon. Who will be most impacted by the absence of Jim Caldwell, Dave?
Well, there's a few people we could choose from, but I'm gonna go with Chris Grier, from the standpoint he's got to make the decision on the quarterback, okay? And who was his quarterback guru? Who did he bring in? A veteran. He's seen great quarterbacks work with, Peyton Manning. Worked in Detroit with another right on the fringe.
Matt Stafford.
A tease, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so he was the guy who's going to work day to day, and you saw him out there on the field, and he was hands-on, doing drills with both quarterbacks, Josh Rosen mainly, because Fitzpatrick, he's seen these drills. But he's going to be the guy. Chris Grier could go to him at the end of the year and say, "What do you think?" Now, Chris Grier is going to have his own thoughts. Brian Flores is going to have his own thoughts.
But Chris Grier isn't in the meeting room with these quarterbacks.
Right.
He doesn't see their work habits. I would say the most impacted player will be Josh Rosen, because this is a young quarterback. Hell, he's on his 6th offensive coordinator since UCLA. Good God.
And now there's some stability, and this guy's gone in the spring.
I'm not using this as an excuse, because it ain't going to be my excuse. This is a situation where you hope that somebody can help speed up his development and his progression. And right now, I can tell you, based on what I saw in OTAs, unless he comes back a completely changed man, it's not happening fast enough. And he's not even close to where Ryan Fitzpatrick is.
We're not judging OTAs, are we?
I am judging everything, Dave. It's a progressive process, but I think Josh Rosen is going to be the guy who's most impacted by the absence of Jim Caldwell.
All right, Omar. Ryan wants to know, with all the negativity surrounding this training camp in terms of expectations, what is one positive we can look forward to?
This is about assessing and evaluating young players on this team, seeing what they have, seeing how much they can progress and develop. I'm curious to see what a Kenny Stills is going to do. Kenny Stills is still young. 24 touchdowns in the last 4 years. He might become the slot receiver in this offense, and we all know how productive a slot receiver has to be in New England's offense. He's the smartest receiver. He's one of the fastest receivers. It will allow Jakeem Grant and Albert Wilson to play very simplified roles, which is, I think, how you get the best out of them. And then also young players, Jerome Baker, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Raekwon McMillan, Charles Harris. We get to throw them into the deep end of the pool and see if they sink or swim.
Well, to me, it's who's going to be great on this team. And that's three players. Xavier Howard, how does he react to big money? Laramie Tunsil, he's the next one coming down the pike who's going to get paid. And Minkah Fitzpatrick, who he looks great.
Does he?
He looks like he could be great, okay? His rookie year, I should say could be, and at multiple positions, which makes him incredibly valuable.
You make me uncomfortable saying that because right now I can't even sit here and tell you that Minkah Fitzpatrick's going to have a Rashad Jones-type career, and I don't think you would define Rashad as great.
He's going to have a much better career than Rashad Jones. Absolutely. One Pro Bowl?
Rashad's been to 3 Pro Bowls.
Okay. Well, he's gonna be a little bit more valuable to a defense. He can be moved around. Okay. He can confuse offense. He's a good defensive coordinator. Can really be.
Is he an impactful player?
Absolutely.
I didn't see that last year.
All right, Omar. Question number 3. Trifected wants to know: last year's coaching staff believed players must adapt to change. This year's coaching staff believed scheme must adapt to players. Will it make a difference in player development?
You know, I don't necessarily know if this is fair to Adam Gase and his coaching staff because if you look at what Adam Gase did, yes, he had his offense. It was the same offense that Peyton Manning ran, same offense that Jay Cutler ran in Chicago and here.
In fact, Jay Cutler ran it here.
Yeah, Jay Cutler. I said in Chicago and here. It didn't necessarily work, but a lot of the reasons why it didn't work is because injuries usually consistently ravish this team. Look at, Dave, I'm making an excuse.
Omar, you of all people.
I'm making an excuse, Dave.
You.
Albert Wilson, Jakeem Grant, Frank Gore. Hell, did they have a good tight end last year? No. They lost Marquise Gray. Injuries consistently ravish this team, and it forced.
You're telling me Marquise Gray and Jakeem Grant and those.
Albert Wilson.
It's a ravage.
Don't exclude Albert Wilson.
Ravaging.
Oh, look at the offensive line. They lost Daniel Kilgore. They lost Josh Sitton. Hell, they had to play games without Laramie Tunsil, Juwan James.
You of all people, Omar.
Dave,
I'm disappointed.
Did injuries not impact last year's offense team?
And they will this year, too.
Yes, they will, yes. And the problem is they don't have as much depth as they had in the past.
True. That is a scary point. But scheme versus player development is the question.
Ultimately, I think talent wins out. And you draw your scheme, and you build your scheme around that talent. Cam Wake has played in a 3-4, and he's played in a 4-3. He's been just as productive in either of them. You know why, Dave? Because he's talented.
I think it reflects more on player procurement. But I'll give you an example that I've used for years on why scheme matters in football. And I'll use 2 legendary Dolphin linebackers, a little old school here because I'm old school. John Offerdahl comes into a 3-4 defense. Small linebacker for middle linebacker. 3-4 defense, and he talked about it. He's taken on 280-pound guards to 300-pound every single play. He had a shortened career because of injury, okay, in part because of that. Shoulder injury from taking on block. Next great linebacker, Zach Thomas. Small middle linebacker, similar idea, relied on quickness, speed in his mind. He's played in a 4-3 behind 2 huge defensive tackles. He ran free.
Yes.
He didn't get injured like John Offerdahl. Scheme matters. Scheme matters to players.
It definitely does. You make a valid point. But now my concern is Dolphins have small linebackers in a 3-4 base. How's that going to work out?
I got a lot of questions. I love this multiple various defense. It sounds
it's
good.
great in theory.
Well, it'll be great maybe 3 years from now if you get the players you need. And like a lot of things this year, where are the players?
Yeah, it just doesn't fit.
Okay, Omar, stuck in the 9-5-4 has a good one. What do you expect the base offense and defense schemes to look like for the Dolphins?
We just talked about it. I expect the defense to be multiple. I expect them to give you some 3-4 looks. I expect them to give you some 4-3 looks. My biggest concern is where's the pressure coming from? And I do not believe scheme creates pressure. I don't believe it. Play calling does not create pressure on a consistent basis. You got to have one player who can beat a guy one-on-one and basically create a mismatch. You got to have one player on that team where a defense says, hey, offense says, hey, alert, alert, that guy's over there, he's moving. I don't see that player on this entire defense.
I'll give a complimentary thought on what I'm scared about for this defense. And you look at the secondary. It could be a very good secondary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got
if they don't have to cover forever,
right? Well, but the other issue, a team that was 30th in the rush defense last year. What are the first 2 games? Baltimore and New England in the heat. And what do those teams want to do? Shorten the game and pound the ball. And we're going to see. I just don't see. I get Christian Wilkins as the number 1 pick. But I don't see, they lost a couple guys who were okay at stopping the run. And you're putting in some guys.
Tank Carradine, Nate Orchard,
who maybe we got to see. I'll give the benefit of the doubt. We got to see them, but that's my concern.
Well, this season, Dolphin fans, is about developing talent, developing young players. As Dave Hyde calls it, what's your slogan for the season, Dave?
Trust the tank.
Trust the tank. It's about building a solid foundation. Dolphins have roughly $90 million. I'm being conservative. I'm not comfortable saying 100 because players have to be waived to get to 100. Obviously, they're going to do that. But roughly $90 million, 12 draft picks, and also this season to invest in the young players. They have to take them up to the mountaintop just like Lion King and present Jerome Baker to the crowd of animals. Present Josh Rosen.
You must have seen The Lion King this weekend.
I was watching Beyonce on the way here. I was listening to Beyonce's album on the way here. Dave, here's the thing. How are we going to know that this scorched earth restart and this rebuild that's going to be led by Chris Greer is going to get this organization in the right direction? How do we know? What are the signs, Dave?
You mean this year?
This year.
You're not going to see a lot of signs this year, Omar. The sign is the one. Do you find the one at quarterback? That is it. Look, if you learn anything in the 20-year walk through the wilderness with the Dolphins, you need a quarterback. The one year they had a great quarterback, Chad Pennington, they had a great year, okay, and a surprisingly great year, okay. And he lifted
the tide because it wasn't a very talented team.
He lifted the tide, right. The other playoff year, Tannehill rode the tide. He accompanied, and he had some nice moments. But
Matt Moore finished the thing off.
Okay, but the point being, we're going to know this works, what they're doing, a year from now if they have their franchise quarterback, and either Josh Rosen or who they draft.
Here's my problem with that, Dave. I need the number 1 pick.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to trade for the number 1 pick, no matter how many draft picks.
Trade.
Yeah, so you got to be bad to get the number 1 pick, Dave. Are you okay with the Dolphins being bad?
Well, you know they're going to be bad whether you're okay with it or not. The question is, are they
extra bad?
That bad?
Yeah, they got to be extra bad.
Look, the over/under in Vegas is 4.5 to 5.
Okay.
I am very comfortable going under that. Now, in the last 15 years, I looked this up this morning. Last 15 years, 2 teams have had 3 wins with the number 1 pick. 7 teams had 2 wins, and the other teams had 1 or 0 wins. You cannot be above 3 wins. Even at 3 wins, it's dicey.
It's a little sketchy. It's a little sketchy, Dave.
You need 2 wins, probably.
2 wins.
2 wins. The
AFC. 2 wins?
2 wins they got. Okay, Omar.
2 wins.
I'm holding off on that handshake just yet.
Oh, I want 2 wins. Listen, let's get to the next question. Jerome wants to know, what second-year player do you expect to have a breakthrough season this year, Dave?
Well, if you don't think Minkah Fitzpatrick was great last year, then I think he's going to have I think by the end of this year, we will say this is a great foundational player that they got.
He is a young piece. He's a young talent. What you can't tell me is where his best spot is.
That's the great thing about him.
I know.
That is a great thing about him.
It's not a bad thing.
It's great. Look how the Patriots use Patrick Chung, and he could be better than Patrick Chung.
To me, this season is about the young player development, and it's not just about Minkah Fitzpatrick. Jerome Baker, young player, small linebacker, but was very productive. He had a 3-sack game, one game, interceptions that lead to wins. Mike Gesicki, good God, no munga.
Where are you going with this one?
Yeah. Somebody has to get Mike Gesicki to understand that physicality is a part of football. It's a necessary part. You got to be a tough player. You got to not shy away from contact. And people can't punk you.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but when you take Mike Gesicki, you know what his strength is, and it's not physicality.
Use him to his strengths is what you're saying?
Use him to, if you drafted him and you think he can be, so, and don't sit there and say.
Brian Flores didn't draft him, I'm just saying.
Okay. Then,
and that was a Adam Gase special.
Yes, it was.
So now, was it a Chris Greer special? I'm just saying.
We don't know.
We don't know the answer to that.
Unless you got some inside info.
Listen, I'll just leave it here. Mike Gesicki's got a lot to prove that he belongs in the NFL.
Mike Gesicki, Devontae Parker were on year 5, and it was the surprise was he came back.
Hell, Kalen Ballage has just as much of a chance to be a featured back as Kenyan Drake in my mind. Kalen Ballage is talented. He's bigger.
Well, the question: do they have a feature back?
Yeah.
Do they have the quintessential, first and second down back?
That leads us to our next question from Angelo J., who asked, does Drake hit 1,000 rushing yards this season? And who are the starting tight ends for the Miami Dolphins?
He's asking some tough questions here.
I told these people I wanted fastballs.
I do not think we got a 1,000-yard rusher in this backfield. And you know what? There's not a lot of 1,000-yard rushers when you look at the league right now. It's a handful of players, okay? So that in itself isn't wrong. And the question is, how do you use Kenyan Drake? He had 9 touchdowns, like dynamic player. Okay, use him to his strength. You're not trusting that he's a dynamic player, 9 touchdowns?
I don't know if I would define him as a dynamic player.
Yes.
I think I would define him as a talented player. If you were dynamic, I would think I could give you the ball 20 touches a game, whether it be receiving or runs.
And I'd be thinking, let's get him at least 15 touches a game. Absolutely. 2 tight ends. Your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Dwayne Allen is beginning the training camp on the PUP. That's not a good thing.
Right.
That was a signing that you expected him to be a good complement piece to Mike Gesicki. Right now, this is Mike Gesicki's chance to prove, hey, I'm worthy of that second-round pick that you used on me last year. But then one sleeper for you is Clive Wofford, the former University of Miami standout. I have been a Clive Wofford fan. He's a guy who can give you
Well, everybody loved him at the University of Miami. Something's happened. Oakland didn't want him. The Jets didn't want him, right?
Oakland. Sometimes guys get caught up in the grinder that is the NFL.
Hey,
a regime change happens. Somebody gets discarded. A new coach comes in. He doesn't like me. He wants to play his drafted guy. These things happen.
That's what this training camp's going to be. But you want opportunity. This is Camp Opportunity right here.
That's a good name for it, Camp Opportunity. Norman C. He's got a good question. Will Cordrea Tankersley be back for training camp? And can he or any other cornerback push Eric Rowe? One, I'm not even sure Eric Rowe is the starter for the Dolphins right now. I watched him struggle in OTAs. He's got a lot to do to prove to me that he deserves a starting spot. But Cordrea Tankersley is beginning training camp on the PUP. He is coming back from an ACL injury that he suffered in November. More than likely, I am never comfortable ever saying that a player should be back 9 months after an ACL injury. I'm okay with Cordrea Tankersley spending the year on IR. That means there are a lot of young players that need to step up to get the situation fixed. Who plays opposite Xavier Howard? Jamal Wiltz. The Dolphins just signed a young man yesterday. Good God, why I can't remember his name.
Yeah, from he grew up in Texas.
He's
played a handful of games for the last few years.
I think they'll be shopping for cornerbacks all the way through teams start cutting their 53-man roster.
And maybe after.
Yeah, maybe after.
Maybe all season.
I like what they're doing in the secondary. I actually like Bobby McCain being used as a free safety. You come in and you have both of your strong safeties play closer to the line of scrimmage, like pseudo linebackers. And then when I say both the safeties, I'm talking about T.J. McDonald and Rashad Jones. And then you have Minkah Fitzpatrick playing nickel and being a rover.
Their strength is their
versatility.
Is they're flooded a little on talent in the secondary job, and especially
in the safety job.
In the safety job. And if you put McCain there, and you see him as a safety, then even more so. So if you're a defensive coordinator, you have to use some imagination when you don't have a lot of talent elsewhere.
That's not just imagination, because I can honestly tell you that riddle has perplexed Dolphin coaching staffs in the front office for 2 years. This is finally the first time I've ever seen anybody present a solution that actually might fix the problem of T.J. McDonald and Rashad Jones having very comparable skill sets.
The Patriots with Brian Flores ran a lot of dime, a lot of 6 cornerbacks. Dolphins hardly ever, if ever, ran the dime. And so you're going to see different. There will be a lot of scheme differences with this coaching staff.
JF Dad wants to know, how much do we see the use of a fullback this season?
Well, Brian Flores has said he likes the fullback. He likes using a fullback, and in part because he was a middle linebacker and he knows what a fullback can do.
Yes.
Okay, and the other part is, if they yin, you yang. If they do this, you do that. And this is a counterpunch to the way the NFL is going right now. The spread offenses, the downfield passing attack, what the Patriots have done, and either use a tight end as a fullback in part, or a fullback as a fullback, and make the defenses commit to how they're going to play, and the quarterback reads off that, and he can find some good advantage to that.
I love the I formation. It's my favorite formation in football. I can go with 2 tight ends as well. I like power. I agree with you. The NFL is going so wide open, so spread, so fast-paced. It would benefit them to slow it down a little and actually pound. Since Lusaka Polite, the Dolphins have struggled to convert those 3rd and 2s.
Correct.
Well, it's about time that you get somebody in to fix the problem.
All right. Omar, most of the excitement surrounding this season centers on who will be the next Miami Dolphins quarterback. There's been a long list of mediocre quarterbacks trying to replace Hall of Famer Dan Marino. And here we go. There's been some good, Chad Pennington, and there's been plenty of bad. John Beck, Pat White, Chad Henne, Jay Cutler, over the last 2 decades. Here's the big question. What are your expectations for Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen?
I expect mediocrity. That's just what we've known. I do like what I saw from Ryan Fitzpatrick, but over the course of his career in the NFL, and we're talking 14 years, he's been a mid-tier fledgling.
Not mid-tier.
He's been a little sub-mid-tier.
I'm being a little harsh.
I mean, he starts out well.
Right.
He gives you 8 and 8, and then when you expect him to take
God
the
bless
next
him,
step,
he's fun. He is fun.
Oh
right?
yeah, he was fun to watch in OTAs. I will tell you, Dolphin fans, I encourage you to go to practice, because practice will be fun. You will see receivers be thrown open. You will see scramble ball situations. You will see 50-50 balls. And I love that. And so do the wide receivers. Devontae Parker had a resurgence this camp. He looked like a first-round talent, and that was credited to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Let's look at this from the big picture. If Ryan Fitzpatrick leads this team to 6 wins, what does it say?
It says that you basically screwed up.
Okay, and if Josh Rosen leads it to 6 wins, what does that say?
It says that he's not good enough.
It says he might be good enough.
No.
Don't get locked into your opinion.
No. 6 wins, I'm sorry. For me to invest in Josh Rosen.
With this team?
Okay, listen, I don't care, because Chad Pennington won with this level talent team.
Okay.
Matt Moore in the 2016, at the end of the season, when Matt Moore had to play the final 4 games, they were so injury decimated. Matt Moore was playing with scraps and led them to wins that led them to the playoffs. We're talking about Matt Moore.
See, I would agree with this. If Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen is a question, we're moving on to next year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're moving on to next year, because you need that slam dunk top 5, 6, 7 quarterback.
Stop wasting time with mediocre quarterbacks. That's the next question, comes from Mike, who wants to know, what level of success would Josh Rosen need to have for Omar and Dave Hyde, the GMs, to decide to skip picking a quarterback high in next year's draft?
Well, you need to. It can't be a question. You can't come saying, well, do we have a franchise quarterback, and have a debate at the round table? No. Everybody has to see it. that he's the one, okay? And it will be very obvious if he is the one, okay? You don't, if he's the chosen Rosen.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah, okay, it won't be a debate, a question. You won't have to ask the question, what stats do we look at, and what do we need to know?
Quarterback rating, is a touchdown to interception ratio? What's his completion percentage?
Throw that out the window. It'll be obvious.
Listen, it's obvious to me. Winning season. Not even playoffs.
I don't even need that. Yeah, I don't even need that. He needs
winning season.
He needs to make throws and
do
things that say, okay, that's it.
That he needs to play like Baker Mayfield played in the final 8 games of last season for the Cleveland Browns.
Baker Mayfield didn't beat a winning team, though. If you're doing
I don't
winning
care.
games,
He still needs to play
because you saw it. You saw it, even though he didn't beat a winning team.
You're right. You saw it. But this quarterback class of Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Jake Fromm, Jordan Love, they are too talented. Now, certainly, everybody can have a regression like hell. The Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold class, they regressed in their final season in college football. I remember one year Jake Locker was supposed to be.
Dan Marino regressed his senior year.
Yeah,
and that's why he slid to 25th and became the bargain.
That's a story that the historians will stick to.
So there's a lot. Those are the questions in the future. The question now. You'll know if Rosen is the one.
Even if he is the one, even if he does lead me to 9 wins, I am taking whatever selection that I have, and I'm getting a young quarterback. Because you know why? There's no shame in having them compete. Look at the San Diego Chargers. They not only had Drew Brees, but they went out and they traded up to get Phillip Rivers. Then they had Drew Brees play for 2 years while they groomed Phillip Rivers, and eventually said, hey, Drew Brees, we're going to let you go, and it's Phillip Rivers, it's your team. There's no shame in having anybody compete. And honestly, if you get another quarterback that you want to invest in, just like the Baltimore Ravens, you can swap out a Joe Flacco and trade him for an asset.
They knew Joe Flacco was gone, right? I mean, when they drafted Lamar Jackson.
What if Lamar Jackson struggled and Joe Flacco? What if Joe Flacco had a very productive season and was leading his team to the playoffs? They wouldn't have moved on from him. But you know what? Get yourself a contingency plan. Too often, this organization has said, we're all in with Ryan Tannehill or Chad Henne.
See, to me, Omar, Josh Rosen is the contingency plan. Plan A is next draft. Josh Rosen is a contingency plan. Hey, let's take this shot. Why not? We have nothing to lose. And I like that idea.
And truthfully speaking, while I do enjoy watching Ryan Fitzpatrick practice, and I'll probably enjoy him playing in games, I know he's not going to lead me to Tua. So it makes me a little uncomfortable sitting here saying, hey, a guy who's going to probably get me to 5 to 6 wins on his own.
Why does everybody think Ryan Fitzpatrick's that good?
Because I've watched practice.
I've watched 15 years.
He had a 100 quarterback rating last year, Dave. Don't be disrespectful. 100 quarterback rating last year. He started the season as the hottest quarterback in the NFL.
You're right. He had 400 yards one game and 3 points.
Listen.
Okay.
Listen.
He had the best receiving core in the NFL last year.
No doubt. No doubt about it. But put some respect on Josh Rosen's name, Dave.
You mean Fitzpatrick?
No.
I like Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Okay. Jack Dixon has a good one. The roster is what it is, but grade the depth of the Dolphins roster.
Grade the depth of the Dolphins roster. I'm going to have to go with an F.
What depth?
It's like literally, the depth of the Dolphins roster will be what they can find on the waiver wire because this team is thirsty. They've got good safeties, depth at safeties. They've got unproven linebackers, no depth at that position. They've got one good cornerback, no depth at that position. They got
depth at quarterback.
Yeah, they got depth at quarterback. They got depth at wide receiver. They don't really have depth at running back. They've got no depth on the offensive line and no depth on the defensive line. Like, there is no depth.
Yeah, if this team gets hit with a few injuries, then they will be.
If you don't understand the perspective that we're giving you, just do yourself a favor. Look at the projected starting lineup and then subtract 5 players from it. Any of 5 players you want. You could pick every third player. Just take them off the roster and then see who steps in as a starter and probably is going to have to play like 8 games as a starter. And then you'll understand why the depth is an issue.
Yeah, to me, Brian Flores' challenge will be at times when the wheels come off, don't let it become a clown show. keep things.
Don't let it become a Cam Cameron situation?
Yes, exactly, and that was the problem. Okay, 305 Dolphin wants to know, what are your expectations for Charles Harris this year now that he's in a better system that fits him? How many sacks?
I'm going to put a 6.5 number on Charles Harris. And here's why I'm going to put a 6.5 number on Charles Harris. I remember his rookie season when he came here as the first-round draft pick. And players don't do this. Players don't openly praise people without being asked about them. Now, they might praise a guy if you ask about him, but they don't sit around talking amongst themselves or when you're not recording them like, man, that Charles Harris, he's that real deal. Athleticism. They praised him openly last year, and now 2 years ago, and that was a talented stable of defensive ends. So it's understandable why he didn't play. Year 2, injuries contribute to why he didn't play. But I'm not going to sit here and deny the fact that even when he was on the field, we ain't see much.
Yeah, I'm not. The pass rush, I'm not going to argue. Look, he has speed.
Yes.
He's shown the ability in college, so why wouldn't that translate? The question is, can he get to the pass rush to me? Because when you saw him, teams ran at him.
Yeah.
And ran at him. And ran at him. And he did not hold up well in that.
But if you use him as a pseudo linebacker and,
we'll see.
and move him around and have him like a chess piece, whereas my envision for this Dolphins defense, if they've got 300-pounders on that front line, they've got 7 linebackers and safeties just moving around, hovering around, and you have no idea what they're all going to do.
Right.
And that's confusing, and it'll take teams a minute to figure that out. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who you don't know what he's doing on a given play. All you know is Xavier Howard's covering your best wide receiver, and you got Bobby McCain back there as a free safety. Everybody else is just wrecking shop. That can really call plays with the pick.
Is that what you're saying, Omar?
I want the number 1 pick.
Our final question comes from John Flora. Who ends camp as a starting O-lineman with Laramie Tunsil?
Laramie Tunsil is going to be that pillar, that island that you build around. The question is, what else do you put on it? They lost Juwan James to free agency. I was not going to pay Juwan James what Juwan James made. He got the highest salary for a right tackle in the NFL. Would you pay Juwan James?
He'll be missed.
Yeah.
He will be missed. That would be my thought. I'm going to miss him. I got to let him go. But
I like that fourth-round compensatory pick that comes in 2020. But I've envisioned this Dolphins offensive line moving Jesse Javis to right tackle. Yeah, Jesse.
Really?
He's a natural tackle. His
He
body
was.
His body type is a natural tackle. He has been adequate, efficient, at sometimes productive at right guard. It's just sliding over one spot. And then I go and invest in the young players. Michael Dieter, the rookie drafted out of Wisconsin, he started more games at a football factory for offensive linemen than anybody else in the school's history. I think you throw them into the deep end.
They got the answer at guard? They got the answer at guard?
No, they don't. I'm not willing to say they got the answer at guard. But I think it's going to help them that Daniel Kilgore is in there serving as a stabilizing presence at center for now until injury happens. Okay, all right. But they've got Chris Reed, they got Kyle Fuller, they got Zach Sturrup, they got Jordan Mills. You know, as you've often said to me, it shouldn't be that hard, Dave.
It shouldn't be that hard.
But it has.
I'm sticking with that line. But, man, they make it hard.
They do, man. I think a lot of that's the quarterback. Because let's not pretend like the last quarterback had horrible pocket presence. Didn't have horrible pocket presence. He did. Jesse Davis, I think that he's proven he's a starter in the NFL. Right. I think he's going to prove that he's a right tackle.
Well, they might need him at right tackle more than guard this year. It might come down to that.
So, and they just need Chris Reed to step up. I think he's cemented himself as the starting left guard. Hopefully he stays healthy. And it's about stabilizing a nice rotation of 8 players. And we'll see how that pans out.
Like with everything else, Omar, there's a lot of questions of there's so many questions across the board.
Absolutely. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. This is an interesting season for the Dolphins, and I'm excited to see what happens in training camp. I'm excited to see if people can actually play. Because there's a lot of expectations for people like Mike Gesicki and Kalen Ballage and Jerome Baker and Raekwon McMillan, who all had little spot moments, but they didn't show you that they were going to be just game changers or the next Cam Wade.
To me, like Raekwon McMillan, big question, because I thought going into last year, all I heard was great things about him. and then you get in the game situations or scrimmage practice, and I didn't see it, and it translated into the fall. Look, he's got to be a guy this year, a middle linebacker, actually someone who can make tackles.
I'm not comfortable with that.
I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. I need answers there.
Live question from Douglas Core. I hope I didn't mangle your name. If Rosen doesn't make it out of camp as a starter, should the Fins put him on the trade market after the bye?
Well, what's his trade value going to be? Seriously, if he doesn't beat out Ryan Fitzpatrick, if no team wanted him for a second-round draft, let's be realistic here. Now, the question to me is, it seems to be the game plan out of minicamp would be, we're going to start Ryan Fitzpatrick to start the season. As soon as he struggles, in come Rosen. He'll play 12 games. We'll judge him. To me, I'd say, put him out there the first game. If there's any debate,
really?
Oh, absolutely.
You got to give this team a chance to win, Dave. You got to give them some hope.
What? Wait. If you're going to go down this road, go down the road.
Nah.
Don't go down halfway.
You can lose your whole locker room.
Money.
You
can
lose your whole locker room.
Draft picks for next year.
As a rookie coach, you can lose your whole locker room.
That is the
Cam Cameron lost his whole locker room. He could not return.
That is the threat.
Don't act like that can't be a real threat for Brian Flores.
Well, it's a little different this year. Cam Cameron entered a room with headstrong veterans who were very good, had great careers.
But they knew
most
the coach
of these
was a
guys,
bumbling idiot.
Most of these guys are at the front end of their careers, especially the best players.
So you're saying they won't know if they
can? Well, I'm just saying you should be able to hold on to long. Go down this route 100%.
No, Dave.
Oh,
and Joe Wildmore asked the benefits of starting Fitzpatrick this season. You know what? Give your team a chance. Give your team a chance to win. Who knows? Devontae Parker could turn into the next A.J. Green. I said it. If put in the right situation with the right quarterback who could give him an opportunity to get 50-50 balls, don't act like Ryan Tannehill.
So for 4 years, Omar, you saw Devontae Parker play, and you're putting it all on Ryan Tannehill. You're putting it all on Ryan Tannehill.
You saw talent. That Jay Cutler year, you saw in training camp, he was a monster. They called him a monster because Jay Cutler knew how to feed the big receiver.
I can't believe you're doing this, Omar.
And he got hurt, Dave. He got hurt.
This is what I love about Dolphin fans. They get brainwashed. Oh, he can do it. The guy you watched 4 years.
Listen,
4 years.
He's got talent. He's got ability.
He does have a talent and ability. I agree.
He just can't stay healthy. I mean, I didn't say he was going to play all 16 games healthy.
I don't know. Something's missing beyond health. Now, does it get in order this year? That's why they gave him a show-me contract. We're going to give you one more year.
It's called desperation, Dave.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's also called they're going down this road. Yeah, why not let Devontae Parker try this year? We're not going to go spend on anything big. Why not? And that's my point with Josh Rosen. If you're going to go down this road, put the pedal to the metal and go down all the way.
Okay.
But I do get why they'd start Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Listen, you got to give your team a chance to say, hey, we got a chance every Sunday, because if you go into the season with the inferior quarterback start, and there's no doubt in their mind that Josh Rosen is the inferior quarterback.
Well, if what played out in minicamp continues through training camp in the preseason, let's give Josh Rosen that, okay?
I'll give him 4 weeks. We'll see.
Okay. You won't give him 4 weeks. You'll give him 1 practice.
I give him like 7. I give him 7 practices. Always a pleasure to have you join us here on X's and Omar. We will be doing practice every day. You know how we do it, live tweets. There's a Sun Sentinel special right now that we are tweeting out where you can actually get 3 months of Sun Sentinel subscription for $1. I think we'll
say that again, Omar. $1?
3 months of subscription for $1. Wow. I think
you get to see your videos and read your analysis.
I think I'm worth $1, Dave. Are you worth $1?
On my good days.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.